At 2017 on a freezing Tuesday morning, Nurse Elena Marquez found a young soldier sitting alone outside Mercy Harbor Medical Center. His uniform was wrinkled, his boots were soaked, and one hand pressed against his ribs. Elena had just finished a 14-hour shift. Her feet ached, her coffee was cold, and rent was due in 3 days. She stopped anyway. "You waiting for someone?" she asked. The soldier looked up. "Just need a minute." Elena noticed the tremor in his fingers. "What happened?" "Nothing serious." That is usually what people say before something becomes serious. He almost smiled. "I'm Sergeant Daniel Cole." "Elena." He glanced toward the cafeteria. "I haven't eaten since yesterday." Elena had $12 left until payday. She needed gasoline, groceries, and rent was due in 3 days. Still, she pulled out her wallet. "Come on." Inside, she bought him a hot meal, milk, and pie. "You don't have to do this," Daniel said. "I know." "Why?" Elena shrugged. "Because hungry people make bad decisions, and soldiers already make enough dangerous ones." Daniel stared at her. "You have no idea who you just helped." Elena smiled tiredly. "Probably someone who needed dinner." She walked away before he could answer. What Elena did not know was that Daniel belonged to a classified Navy Special Operations Unit training nearby. She had once served beside men like him. Years earlier, Elena had been a combat medic attached to a military rescue team overseas. During one mission, she saved 7 wounded soldiers under fire, but 1 man died while she treated him. Elena carried that memory like a scar. After leaving the service, she became a civilian nurse and buried everything else. At Mercy Harbor, nobody knew. To them, she was the quiet nurse who worked nights, avoided attention, and sometimes got mocked for being too soft. Dr. Marcus Vale had called her that more than once. "You cannot save everybody, Elena," he told her that night. "Then stop acting like you can." She looked at him. "Maybe stop acting like nobody deserves to be saved." Marcus rolled his eyes and walked away. At 60:40 the next morning, Elena was checking a patient's blood pressure when every ambulance bay door opened simultaneously. The first vehicle arrived, then another, then another. Within minutes, black SUVs filled the entrance. A hospital security guard ran inside. "Someone call administration." Elena turned toward the windows. Men in dark uniforms poured from the vehicles. 1, 10, 30, then dozens more. A charge nurse whispered, "Who are they?" The answer came from outside. "Navy SEALs." Elena froze. By the time she reached the lobby, nearly 180 operators stood across the hospital entrance. Every face was grim. Every man carried determination mixed with fear. And then Daniel Cole stepped through the doors. He walked directly toward Elena. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "we need you." Elena stared at him. "For what?" Daniel looked toward the elevators. "Our commander is dying." Dr. Marcus pushed forward. "We have trauma surgeons." Daniel shook his head. "You don't understand." "I understand medicine." "No," Daniel said. "You understand hospitals." She understands him. Elena felt the room change. "Who?" Daniel swallowed. "Commander Nathan Reed." The name hit her like a gunshot. Nathan Reed had been the soldier who died in the operation Elena could never forget. "Impossible," she whispered. "That's not possible." Daniel stepped closer. "Our commander is alive." A stretcher burst through the doors. The wounded man was unconscious, blood soaking his uniform. Elena saw his face, older, scarred, but unmistakable. Nathan Reed, her past, had walked back into her hospital. Marcus stared at her. "You know him?" Elena could barely breathe. "Yes." The emergency room exploded into motion. Reed had suffered chest trauma, internal bleeding, and a collapsed lung. His blood pressure was falling. "Get him to trauma too," Elena ordered. Marcus immediately snapped, "I am the attending physician." Elena ignored him. "Chest tube kit. Massive transfusion protocol. Ultrasound now." Marcus glared. "Who put you in charge?" Daniel answered, "I did." Marcus laughed bitterly. "You cannot walk into my emergency room and appoint a nurse commander." Then the monitor screamed. Reed's heart rhythm became unstable. Elena leaned over him. "Everyone quiet." The room obeyed. She pressed 2 fingers against his neck and studied the monitor. "He has blood around the heart." Marcus frowned. "Cardiac tamponade." "Exactly. We need surgery. We need it now." Marcus hesitated. Elena looked at him. "If you wait for a full operating team, he dies." For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then Marcus shouted, "Call cardiac surgery." Elena grabbed the ultrasound probe. "Prepare pericardiocentesis." One SEAL whispered, "She knows." Daniel answered, "She always knew." As Elena worked, Reed suddenly opened his eyes. His voice was barely audible. "Elena." Her hand stopped. "I'm here." "You came back." She fought tears. "No. You did." Reed smiled faintly. Then his monitor flatlined. Code blue. The room erupted. Elena began compressions. 1, 2, 3. Marcus took over airway management. For nearly 7 minutes, they fought for Reed's life. Then a heartbeat returned. The room exhaled. But Elena noticed something strange. Daniel was staring at the blood-soaked uniform. "What?" she asked. He pointed to a small insignia beneath Reed's collar. "That was never supposed to be here." Elena examined it. Her face changed. It was a symbol she remembered from the classified operation. A symbol connected to the mission that had supposedly killed Nathan Reed. Marcus noticed. What does it mean? Elena whispered. It means this wasn't an accident. Suddenly, the hospital lights went out. Emergency generators kicked in. Doors locked automatically. Then every phone displayed the same message. Leave Commandant Elan. The SEALs drew their weapons. Daniel shouted, "Nobody moves?" A gunshot echoed somewhere upstairs. Patients screamed. Elena looked at Daniel. How many? Unknown. Then stopped looking at me like a nurse. Daniel nodded. Yes, Mom. Elena took control. Seal the east stairwell. Move civilians into imaging. 2 operators with security. Marcus stared at her. You've done this before. Elena didn't answer. A second shot cracked through the building. Daniel grabbed her arm. They're coming for Reed. Elena looked at the unconscious commander. No. She looked toward the hallway. They're coming for something he knows. She suddenly remembered the insignia. Then Reed's fingers moved. Elena leaned close. Tell me. His eyes opened halfway. The hospital. He coughed. Someone here. Then he whispered a name. Vale. Elena turned. Marcus stood behind her, pale and motionless. You heard him, Elena said. Marcus shook his head. No. Daniel raised his weapon. Step away from the patient. Marcus backed up. You think I'm involved? Elena watched him carefully. I don't know. Then the truth became stranger. A nurse rushed in carrying an envelope. Commander Reed asked me to give this to Elena if he arrived unconscious. Elena opened it. Inside was a photograph. It showed her military rescue team from years ago. Everyone was smiling. Everyone except the man standing in the background. Marcus Vale. Elena stared at the photograph. Marcus whispered, I can explain. Daniel stepped forward. Start talking. Marcus finally broke. The mission was compromised. Reed discovered someone was selling intelligence. Elena was blamed because she survived. Elena's eyes filled with anger. You knew? Marcus nodded. I was ordered to keep silent. Be whom? Marcus looked toward the ceiling. Before he could answer, the hospital intercom crackled. A distorted voice spoke. Commander Reed has 10 minutes. Daniel tightened his grip. Elena looked at the 180 SEALs filling the hospital. For years she had believed her past was shameful. Now it was the reason an entire force had come to her side. She turned to Daniel. What do you need? He smiled. The woman who saved 7 soldiers. Elena looked at Reed. Then she looked at the terrified patients. Let's finish what we started. The next 10 minutes became a battle without a battlefield. Elena directed teams through dark corridors and found a hidden access tunnel beneath the surgical wing. Daniel led the CLs through it. They found 3 armed men waiting. But the real target was not Reed. It was the hospital's server room. The attackers were searching for evidence connecting a contractor to the old military betrayal. Elena reached the server first. Marcus followed her. You deserve the truth, he said. He handed her a drive. I kept this for 12 years. Elena stared at him. Why now? Because I finally got tired of being afraid. Behind them, footsteps thundered. Daniel appeared. We're clear. Elena inserted the drive. Files appeared across the monitor. Names, payments, orders, and one final recording. Her younger self appeared on screen, treating wounded soldiers while gunfire exploded outside. Then Nathan Reed's voice played. If Elena survives, tell her this wasn't her fault. Elena covered her mouth. Reed had known. He had protected her. The attackers were arrested before sunrise. Nathan Reed survived surgery, and the conspiracy that destroyed Elena's military career collapsed. Weeks later, Elena stood outside the hospital. Daniel approached. You know why 180 SEALs came here? She smiled. Because Commander Reed needed help? No. Daniel said. We came because he told us who saved his life. Elena looked at him. You remembered. Every detail. He handed her a folded military flag. For the medic who never stopped being one. Elena unfolded it, tears shining in her eyes. Behind them, the hospital doors opened. Nathan Reed, pale but walking, stepped outside. He saluted. Elena returned the salute. For the first time in 12 years, she stood without shame. She had thought buying one hungry soldier a meal was a small act nobody would remember. But kindness has a strange way of traveling farther than fear. One meal had brought 180 warriors to her door, not to protect her from an enemy, but to remind her that heroes do not always wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear scrubs, work exhausted night shifts, and quietly spend their last $12 on someone else's dinner. And sometimes, when the world finally learns what they have sacrificed, an entire army comes to say thank you. If this story moved you, subscribe for more unforgettable stories of courage, sacrifice, and heroes nobody saw coming, because compassion can change everything.